DLC.
Yeah! There it is! When that robot voice comes in, you know it's time to begin, and wherever you are, whenever you are, and however you happen to be listening, we're so glad you've chosen to tune in to
DLC.
A little early this week is a little. I'll be honest, I was a little early. DLC is your downloadable commentary for the week, delivered the way we love it to be, and that is completely free. Thanks to our patrons over at patreon.com/DLCpod. They're bringing the show to you. Maybe you would like to be one of them. You get extra perks, cool stuff, including an entire bonus show we call Paid DLC. It's now become our midweek check-in show because we record it in the middle of the week. That is exclusive to patrons. Also, the video on demand version of this show, ad-free episodes, all kinds of cool stuff. Check it out, DLC Pod on the Patreon, patreon.com/DLCpod. DLC, of course, the show all about games, and there are many forms. Games played on desktops, laptops, and consoles. Also games that involve dice, luck, and cardboard. I'm your host, Jeff Canada. That's spelled with 2 N's and 1 T, and I am joined, as always, by my friend / co-host / nemesis. The guy who always claims me as a dependent on his taxes, Mr. Christian Spicer. Hello, Christian.
Hello, Jeff. Hello, everyone. I'm also the guy who said I had all the windows ready to go for video and realized I missed one. So for you and me right now, you and I and me, I'm doing singles, just singles. Right now it's just me. And then when you talk, I'll switch back and it'll just be you. And I do claim
great
you
audio
as
content, Christian.
I'm hyping the Patreon,
right.
dude. Also
right.
Exclusive content is Jeff crawling through my window. That you can see. No, I'm just kidding.
That's just because you said, crawl through my window.
I was thinking, I'm going to throw this out. I have not said this to you in confidence. I will say it just to everybody. We should do a in-person something for episode 500.
Yeah, what are we on? What is this today? What do we got? We got 439. Oh, that's a year of episodes, Christian. That's a year.
Yeah, why do you think I'm hyping it now? You got to get on that Patreon before...
We have 61 episodes, and he's okay. I'll jot that down. But yes, we should definitely blow the doors off for 500. Call me in a year.
It's going to be awesome.
Hey, we got a big show for you. There's some interesting news to dig into. We got lots of really cool games to talk about, and ladies and gentlemen, a new console to discuss. Yeah, you heard me right. And we have an awesome guest to do all of that with. You know, the DLC always stands for your downloadable Canada and your downloadable Christian. But this week, oh man, I'm excited because DLC stands for decreasing the largest constant. Because we have the founder of MinnMax, also former video producer at Game Informer, Ben Hanson is back with us. Hey, Ben.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me back. It's an honor. I guess I dug through the history books, and it looks like July 2019. So I was still at Game Informer last time I was on the show. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Well, I think it was the before times.
Yeah, that's right.
So it does. We've all lived multiple lifetimes since then. I certainly have aged, but we got to get you on more frequently. We love you and your content. Congratulations on the launch of MinnMax. How is that going?
Thank you. Oh my God, it's been a wild ride. Yeah, it's been going great. So yeah, started in October of 2019 after some layoffs at Game Informer. We said, hey, everything doesn't need to fall apart just because we work for a larger corporation. And so we struck out on our own, and it's been working out. We've been growing ever since. It's been going great. Like we added Janet Garcia and Sarah Podzorski to the crew last year. And then we just added a bunch of new contributors that jump in when needed. So we have experts on the podcast, on the MinnMax Show podcast, whenever we need them. So people like Kelsey Lewin, we just added, who's the co-director of the Video Game History Foundation, one of the smartest people I know when it comes to games. Jacob Geller, who's a great YouTube essayist. Ana Diaz over there from Polygon, Joe Juba, formerly of Game Informer. So we have a big crew now, but it's a lean machine, and it's working out really well. So it's been fun.
Fantastic.
You're like the Justice League. It's like people from everywhere. You get together in the Hall of Justice. Just an awesome crew of talent, but also I'll read some of your solo books from time to time. You know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's like if Flash was the only full-time person with the Justice League, I guess that would be me. And then we bring people in when we need them here and there, and it works out. Because how much content can you really consume from the Justice League or from MinnMax? So
well,
it works out.
We're glad you brought your Speed Force to this show today. We're excited. Let's jump in and start the way we always do with Story of the Week.
Story of the week, it's the story of the week. Story of the week, it's the story of the week.
Story of the Week is the part of the show where we make our case for the most important stories that happen in the world of games this week. You can always submit stories for our consideration by sending us an email to dlcfeedback@gmail.com. You can also send comments or questions, your own reviews. We love hearing from you over there at dlcfeedback@gmail.com. But also, we love our communities. We've got a couple of great places where people congregate, talk about the show, talk about video games, and all sorts of other stuff. One of them is the subreddit over at 5x5dlc.reddit.com. And the other is the Discord, which is also 5x5DLC on Reddit. Check those places out. Really cool.
Discord. The Discord one.
I said Reddit
Discord.
again.
Yeah,
I said Reddit again. I meant Discord. They knew what I was talking about.
Great audio content, Jeff.
Yeah, you know what though? I'm gonna edit that out, and you'll never know.
No, Jeff
I'm
has
gonna
the
leave
power
yours
of the
in
edit.
and take mine right out of the show.
Well, that's why patrons get to see it all, because I don't edit the VOD.
Yeah.
All right. Ben, you are our guest, so you get first pick of stories. What would you consider to be your story of the week?
Oh boy, tough batch here. Well, I don't know if this is the biggest headline, but I'm a sucker for a good tease. And the idea of Hello Games teasing a little bit more what their project is after this next one, or after the update for No Man's Sky that just came out, Outlaws. They're teasing what's coming next, and it is quite the tease here, as always, right? So there's an article from IGN where they say that, hey, our next project is one of those projects that would seem impossible even with a 1,000-person team, which I'm sure when that quote came out of Sean Murray's mouth, everybody at IGN's like, okay, well, that's the perfect headline. All right, done. Done and done.
Dig your own grave again, Sean Murray.
Yes, exactly.
He's not learned anything from the launch of No Man's Sky. You know, it's been a few years, and the game has gotten much more successful since then. I mean, it launched very successfully, but, you know, I think you and I and Christian all remember the coals he was raked through for the big promises and the huge, you know, expectations that he fostered in every interview. And I think over time, No Man's Sky, at least from my perspective, has fulfilled those expectations, but not at launch, right?
Yes, exactly. It's been a long road, but now he has so much goodwill going for him. And just imagine how much that team has learned since 2016 when No Man's Sky launched. Like, I love the idea of them taking that tech, applying it to something new. And I remember back at Game Informer talking to him about the potential of, just in a hypothetical sense, not saying this is the next game or anything, but just what if you took that tech and applied it just to one planet? Could we get, you know, some massive open world RPG with that type of procedural tech just happening on one planet? What can you create with just the know-how that they've accumulated? So I'm very excited and very interested to see what that's going to be.
So this, from your perspective, this isn't a fool me once, fool me twice situation. You are more inclined to think they'll deliver on this kind of big talk.
Well, the good news is if they don't, I know that they will feel the guilt themselves and then work on it for the next 3 decades just to make sure that they get it right. I mean, I think that's the lesson of No Man's Sky. If you stick with it, eventually you can dig yourself out of anywhere. So yeah, you know, it's definitely, there should be a big flare sent up with this news story. But yes, everybody keep your expectations in check, but just knowing that they are iterating on that tech seems really exciting.
Yeah, and of course, another thing that was noted in this article is that the game is, quote, very early in development. Right. So, you know, it's something we're not going to see probably for quite a while yet. But Christian, does this excite you in the same way it does Ben? Are you as you know, famously didn't leave your starting planet in No Man's Sky? So are you hoping for something a little more concentrated? What does 1,000-person team, it would still be impossible, mean to you, Christian Spicer?
A bug-free Assassin's Creed at launch? Zing. I mean, I think this quote is actually, well, one, yes, it's a salacious quote and easy to dig into. But I think it is, Sean, showing some awareness of what happened before. The quote is, it would seem impossible even with 1,000-person team. It's not, the quote wasn't, we are going to make something even more incredible than No Man's Sky. It wasn't, we're going to deliver the most epic world RPG ever. It was, even if we had 10 times the resources, which we don't, what we're trying to do would still seem so far out there. And to me, that kind of does say, temper expectations. We're swinging away. You know, we've left little glasses of water all around the house, and we're swinging away. Spoilers for very old movies. And they have these ambitions that even with a huge team would be ambitious. And so now with their current team, it's kind of like, yeah, we're going to go for it. And this excites us, and we're going to follow that. And I love that. I think that's exciting. I think that's essentially what the Beyond Good and Evil 2 announcement was also. But here Sean Murray saying it, whereas at Ubisoft it was, Jeff, you and I were like, that's a movie. There's no game there, right? That's just what is this game? You're a monkey? You go to all these planets? There's no game there. And that also seems impossible with 1,000-person team, you know?
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. And Sean says that, they have a small core group working on this new project, whatever it may be, and that it is not going to impact the updates to No Man's Sky, that those will still be happening, that this isn't the last update to No Man's Sky, although the most recent one, pretty impressive. It's amazing how much they have continued to service this game, put out these huge updates for free. I don't think they've charged for a single one, have they?
No, it's wild. And I remember, talking to Sean Murray back at GDC 2019, again in the before times, but he was saying there that the average playtime for all players with No Man's Sky was 45 hours.
Wow, that's amazing.
Which was mind-boggling. And now, I mean, more people are jumping in and playing it every day, so probably that average is going down a bit, but there is still a hardcore, passionate community for that game. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, Ben. I'm very much excited to see what they do next. I do think there's you can't help but notice how much they've learned in the process of putting out that game and revising that game and updating that game and creating community around that game. So I do think that their next step, whatever that is, their next big release is going to come from all of those learnings, which is a word I hate using, but I'm going to use it here. And I think that whenever we see that, I will certainly be very much, I will give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm not going to leap to any kind of first impressions based on exactly what you said, which is this is a team that doesn't just throw something out there and let it live or die based on its first release. That is a team that continues to update, continues to revise, and the product evolves. So I think that's real. I think that's the kind of thing that engenders a lot of confidence in a developer.
Yeah, and they did they did a full re-release of Joe Danger on iOS because of a fan email where it's like, "Hey, my kid loves this game. It helps recenter them, and it's not playable on." And it wasn't just like, "Oh, we've updated it to work on iOS 15 or whatever." It was like everything's better. Also, the original's there. Here it is, and they are committed to what they make, and that's awesome.
And they're also using the money presumably made by No Man's Sky to help fund interesting smaller games like the last Campfire that came out. Was that a couple years ago now? So it seems like they're doing it all right over there now.
Very cool. Christian Spicer, what is your story of the week?
Hello Games was bought for the tech underwrite. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like there's a Silicon Valley Pied Piper there somewhere in their tech, right? If this thing proves to be what it seems to be. Oh, yeah. In relation to that and investment and buying, we kind of talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, or I kind of talked around it, I guess, in another story, the idea of how the Lego X Epic partnership was announced, and there's this thing. They're going to be working on metaverse things together. And then this past week, more of that story came out where it is Lego's parent company and Sony. Lego's parent company is Kirkby, and Sony have both invested $1 billion with a B.
That's each. I guess each invested $1 billion.
They've each invested $1 billion into Epic Games, which is one a mind-boggling amount of money.
Well, it was honestly just in Fortnite skins. They just
okay. Then that's about the same that I've invested in Epic Games, so that makes sense. But I think the bigger part of the story for me is the Sony investment, because it's not an acquisition. I'm curious what they're getting out of it, I guess, and we haven't seen that yet. Like Kirkby's investment makes a little bit more sense to me. But Ben, I'm curious what you make of Sony. Is it just a monetary investment, or is it like we hope to get first look at Unreal tech? Like, how does this leverage for them as a game platform?
It's a great question. Is it just as simple as, hey, people on the board, they like it when you put money towards a hypothetical metaverse. Where's the best place to put this? Okay, I guess Epic is the best bet for whatever a metaverse is. Therefore, let's throw it in there. And then everybody on the board says, huzzah, we did it. We're geniuses now. But I am so confused by it. And especially it gets really bizarre thinking about Sony, investing such a big way in Epic, while still like a majority of their studios are not using Unreal. Whereas Microsoft is investing in Epic in a different way, I guess, by like all their primary studios using Unreal, right? You think of like Gears, Obsidian, In Exile, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, Undead, Labs, Rare. Everybody's all in on the tech of Epic there, whereas Sony's just all in on investing for the metaverse, but they'll stick with Decima and the proprietary engines for their studios. So
I wonder if we're going to see that change. I don't think it's a coincidence that when the Unreal Engine 5 big rollout happened, that big presentation where we saw that incredible tech demo with the girl and the rocky, third person adventure kind of thing, that was all tied to the PlayStation 5 and like shown on PlayStation 5 tech. And they were already, buddy in that moment. And it was very much Unreal Engine 5 and PlayStation 5 and like we're both fives and let's high five and we're five buddies. And so I wonder if you're going to see more of the first party studios use the Unreal Engine, because part of Yoshida, Sony CEO's statement was we are also confident that Epic's expertise, including their powerful game engine, combined with Sony's technologies, will accelerate our various efforts, such as the development of new digital fan experiences in sports and virtual production initiatives. So this is like not just video games.
It's Sony.
It's Sony. And we already know that Unreal Engine 5 isn't just a video game engine. It's been being targeted at Hollywood in a big way. Mandalorian, of course, is the poster child for using a game engine to prototype, digital production. And I think Unreal Engine 5 very much aimed in that direction. So I think clearly Sony as a company larger than just the video games division, and Unreal Engine larger than just video game development. But I wonder if you will see that integration flow down the chain and be, $1 billion is not a small number, it seems to me. So maybe that will show up more in first party titles.
Yeah, it could be. I know Days Gone was Unreal. I don't know for Sony Ben's new IP if they've revealed what the engine is. I forget if it was in that big smorgasbord of different logos and stuff that Unreal revealed for who was working in it. But yeah.
And we've already seen a number of developers who have proprietary engines. CD Projekt Red. Who was the other one? Just last week we were talking about it.
Tales for Lego is another one, which also makes sense now. But
Tomb Raider, Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah, exactly. Who've been have very powerful proprietary engines, or like, no, we're using Unreal Engine now. So I don't think that's out of the question to see some of these engines that we've become familiar with for Sony first party games not be used anymore. I think this is a very significant story, and I don't know, like you guys, I don't know exactly what it means, but I do think we're going to see the results of this over a long period of time.
Well, and Sony had put in $450 million into Epic in, I think it's July 2020.
Just a down payment.
Maybe in July 2020, half a bill was more value than a full bill.
I don't even get out of bed for half a bill.
But it was valuation 2 years ago. But also to changing engines. Jeff, we had to change engines. For 8 years, we were an E3 hype train.
It's true. And no one gave us even close to half a bill.
No,
That's
no, we
interesting.
just had to hitch our hype train engine into a new Keeley hype train engine now. Which
right.
we're all about the summer of Keeley now.
It's so true.
Jeff Keighley 5, the finest yet.
I do want to ask you, Ben, about this. You kind of touched on it. The first reasoning that was part of this statement is about the metaverse.
Yeah.
And where's the quote here? Quote from Yoshida. As a creative entertainment company, we are thrilled to invest in Epic to deepen our relationship in the metaverse field, a space where creators and users share their time. I mean, vague, right? But what clearly, I mean, I'm bullish on VR and excited about more VR. PlayStation VR 2, I think, is going to be a big factor in pushing VR tech forward. I think Sony's certainly betting on that. What do you make of that? I mean, that term is so already annoying to everybody, even me who likes VR. The metaverse is super annoying already. But what do you make of name dropping that?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you bringing up VR now. I'm not that it's going to be PlayStation Home 2, but I bet they are going to launch PSVR 2 with some sort of quote unquote metaverse like experience, maybe built in Unreal. And so maybe this is kind of just laying the groundwork for that.
Could be.
Hey, here's a really dumb question. Is all the metaverse talk and everybody's saying, oh, we're going to get there. Has anybody just been so bold, since it's all nonsense anyway, just to say like, no, we've already done it. This is the metaverse. Like, have they ever just said, yeah, the Fortnite is the metaverse, everybody, we're done. Game over. We were there first. They could, right? It's all nonsense.
Yeah, you can define it as you wish. So why not? I think, I think that's a good point. But I think that there's some vague sense that the metaverse is going to be this next place that we all inhabit that, is incorporates AR or VR, but also is sort of I mean, I guess you could argue that Fortnite is already that, right? This universal location where lots of different experiences branch off of it. So maybe, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. If you're a PR person, and you're just like, no, we did it already.
Old news.
I have a $1 billion idea, and I'm going to say it here, just between us friends. Facebook rebranded themselves as Meta, right?
Yeah.
Jeff, Ben, don't you steal this from MinnMax. Don't you do it.
I'm not going to write it down.
Jeff, let's rebrand DLC. I know we just got a new fancy logo. But let's rebrand DLC as Verse.
Ooh, I like it.
So then if Meta wants to be the metaverse, they kind of have to buy us. Like, you can't have the metaverse without the verse.
I mean, to give up the brilliant SEO friendly title DLC, I don't know how we would ever recover from that.
I'm telling you, Verse. It's going to be called Verse. We're going to be acquired within a week.
We get a bunch of poetry heads accidentally downloading the show. You never know.
Love it.
All right. Well, we'll keep tabs on this story, but $2 billion ain't small change, and it's interesting to see Lego, looking over there at other blocks and going, "We're Lego. Come on, we gotta get it. We gotta get in on this."
Which is interesting. Yeah. If you think about Lego too, I mean, it wasn't too long ago they were looking at Minecraft and saying, "Hey, we got to get in on that action." Remember Lego Worlds? That existed for a while, and I think it's still running technically, but that feels like them kind of dabbling in that arena. And it's like, who knows if their metaverse play is going to be Lego Worlds 2? I don't know. Just some evolution of that core concept, because it feels like, however we want to define metaverse now, it feels like Lego Worlds was already inching in that direction, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the one person in Second Life, still is like, hello.
Exactly.
I've been here for 30 years.
I paid real human money for all this stuff in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just the knight from The Last Crusade, just hanging out in Second Life waiting for someone to come back.
I chose poorly. All right. My story of the week is one that I also think is going to have a big impact, kind of subtly so. But for me, this is huge. And I hope it permeates many, many, many more services. But there is news this week from GI.biz that Nintendo and Sony have been forced, based on an investigation conducted by the Competition and Markets Authority, which first time I'm hearing of this. You guys have heard of the Competition and Markets Authority?
I have a T-shirt, yeah.
The CMA? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big CMA fan, Ben Hanson. Forced to change the way their subscription services work. And I think this is to the benefit of most humans, to the benefit of people who actually subscribe. And that is, they can't just auto-renew you on their subscription accounts and charge you without you really paying attention, which, let's be honest, has been a lot of places' business model. That's the business model, is you'll sign up and then just forget we exist. So we'll just keep charging you and you just don't pay attention. But
absolutely.
This was a forced change. So now Sony will have to send reminders to customers that haven't used the service in a while, telling them how to cancel their subscription. And if the user does not cancel and is still not actively using the subscription, Sony will stop taking payments. So you can cancel your service just by not using it at all for a long time, which, let's be honest, is how it should work, right? If I haven't used something in forever, it should just auto cancel. That's beautiful. Nintendo also will no longer offer automatic renewal as a default option for its Nintendo Switch Online service. And if you don't, if you wish to, you can choose auto renewal, but you need to do that after signing up. So you can choose your auto renewal option, but you have to opt in, which is the way it should work. This should be for everything for all the, cable streaming things that I sign up for 1 month because I want to watch that one show and then I forget that I'm signed up. It should be for Sparklets, water, whatever. I don't care what it is. Like, whatever you subscribe to, this is how it should work.
Everything but Patreon. Everything else.
I know it is. It is bizarre to think about.
But thank you, patrons, for forgetting about us and continuing to be patient.
I hope you don't forget about us. I hope you are actively listening and consuming hashtag content.
Yeah, we want you to value your contribution to the show. We want you to, get value out and put value in. That's the agreement that we have. So thank you for that. But also, if you forget about it, I'm not mad.
There are so many of these that there are literally companies whose job it is to be like, hey, idiot, you subscribe to a bunch of stuff. What are you? Let us help you. We'll tell you what to unsubscribe to. Pay us money so you don't pay all these other bozos money for things you aren't using. And people are like, I need that.
Yeah. Like a friend of mine, I remember just not too long ago, he's like, oh yeah, I had this really embarrassing moment where I realized that I've somehow been paying $10 a month for Microsoft Office for years and years and years. Like, he needed it for something in school and then just completely forgot that he signed up for that. It's like, oh no, that's hundreds and hundreds of dollars to Microsoft Office. Completely irrelevant. Yeah.
I think that happens so frequently. I found out a couple of years ago that I had 2 Dropbox accounts on 2 different email addresses, and I was only using one of them. And I was like, how long have I been paying for this second Dropbox account? Yeah. So my only question to you guys is, why only Sony and Nintendo? Like, why isn't this universal?
It's a great question. Well, what was in that story they mentioned Microsoft, right?
Well, I guess Microsoft has already been doing it. It says the companies have followed in Microsoft's footsteps, which changed how information to Game Pass subscribers was presented to them. And that happened in January of this year, that users can clearly see displayed information on membership pricing, refunds, and cancellation. So that's another thing that these companies do often, is they obfuscate how you even cancel.
Right.
Or you can only cancel by phone, or like all that garbage where they're just making it as hard as possible. It's like trying to cancel a gym membership,
Not familiar with that concept, but I can imagine it. Yeah.
Oh, you've never canceled? You're just yoked over there? Just
That's
Jim
right.
Rat?
I go too often. I can't imagine life without it. No, obviously it should be a default. It's bizarre. It is a huge deal. I mean, with everybody pushing so hard in the gaming space to get on the subscription bandwagon, this is a huge news story, even if it's not the sexiest, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It sounds uninteresting, but I think it's going to have a huge impact on average people's lives.
Yeah.
And I hope that this permeates. I want it to be the way that subscription anything is handled. Because if I don't use it for a long time, it should just automatically not charge me. That's beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
I know it's true in California, and I'm not sure other places. I don't know if it's federal or not here in the U.S., but similarly, and kind of related to games in terms of buying like stored value cards. But in California, I think it was $5 initially. It might be higher now. But if you have less than $5 on like your Jamba Juice, Best Buy, Target gift card, they have to cash you out.
Yeah.
And companies fought that for a long time because I'm making up the number here, but like millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of captured money by these retailers on gift cards that only have like $2 left, $1.15, 75 cents that people then don't think to use because it's like, oh, it's only 75 cents. So they don't carry it with them. They don't, swipe that first and then use cash or their credit card. So in California, again, I forget the exact value, around $5. You can bring it in to Target and be like, give me cash. And they legally have to. Whereas before they'd be like, no, have fun carrying your 20 little cards. And it's the same thing. It's just unrealized value or here for the subscriptions, just lost value for things people aren't using. Consumer protection. Who would have thought? Important.
Yeah.
Well, from my perspective, also, it seems like the big push that we saw over the last decade of switching from paying once for something to a subscription service. I mean, it's hard not to think that a lot of that is because of this.
Totally.
Is literally because people just forget to stop paying us, and it's more lucrative.
Well, even if you don't forget, it also just eliminates the pain point of taking out your credit card, or whatever it is, like the hassle of repaying. One of the things that saved me a lot of money over the years is that I refused to memorize my credit card number because it creates that one half step when I'm like, this is available on Best Buy. I'm going to buy it. No, I'm not going to go
Christian
get my wallet.
Spending hours trying to get the credit card number out of his mind. No, don't stay in there. No.
I don't know it, bro. Just carefree, in one, out the other. Just type it in. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, it's good living.
Cursed with a photographic memory. Curse you, brilliant mind. All right. Let's talk about some games and some game consoles. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, which is Squarespace. Squarespace, of course, is the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. Stand out with a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything, your products, the content you create, even your own time. I have been suggesting Squarespace to anybody that needs a website for many years, friends and family, anybody that's like, you're the internet guy in the family. How do I do? I always go squarespace.com/Jeff sent me. Just go there, use the tools. It's so simple. But now Squarespace is a even better recommendation for folks that create things, that are building businesses, that are selling things. It's not just, yes, it's easy to make any website there, but they've got member areas now that make it easy for creators to monetize their content and expertise in a way that fits with their brand. With the member area, you unlock new revenue streams for your business, and you free up time in your schedule by selling access to gated content like videos, online courses, and newsletters. And you can build the videos in Squarespace. They have a pro-level video studio. The Squarespace Video Studio app helps you make and share engaging videos to tell your story, grow your audience, and drive sales. Plus, if you're driving sales, You need an online store. Sell your products in their online store. It's so simple to build an online store on your website, whether you sell physical or digital products. Squarespace has the tools that you need to start selling online. So many great features to make building a business, building a brand, selling anything with Squarespace. Check it out. Head over to squarespace.com/Jeff sent me. Get yourself a free trial. And then when you're ready to launch, use our offer code Jeff sent me, JEFFSENTME, all one word. Save yourself 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Even if you're just thinking about building a site and you want to secure the domain or find out if the domain of your business is available. I have used that front end at Squarespace so frequently to just find out what domains are available. It's so cool. It suggests other extensions, over 200 extensions. It's great. You can save yourself 10% by securing that domain using the promo code Jeff sent me at checkout. Thanks to Squarespace for supporting the show. We appreciate it.
Ooh, what you playing this week? Tell us. Ooh, what you playing this week? Tell us on the playlist.
All right. If you are one of those listeners that downloads the show as soon as it comes online, you probably noticed we waited a little extra time this week to put the show up. That is because our friend Ben Hanson had an embargo for something I am extremely curious about. This is a new console that has a lot of hype around it. People have been waiting for a long, long time to get their hands on the Playdate. Ben, you have had your hands on it. I'm so curious what you think of this thing.
Yeah, I am curious what you think about what I think about this thing. So the Playdate, it is the new little handheld from Panic, which was a company. It is a company out of Portland, and they published Firewatch. It was how they were first on my radar. I was like, oh, who are these Panic folks? And they've been working for years on just this project of, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we made a little handheld thing that was kind of an homage to the Game & Watch, like a black and white handheld device.
It is tiny. Ben is holding it up for video viewers. It is much tinier than I actually thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's cute. The frame of reference that Jenna Garcia had, MinnMax, which is right, is it's like Post-it notes. Think of it like a pack of Post-it notes. That is what it is. But, it's a little oblong, I guess. It's a funky shape because on the side of it, they have a crank, which is really diabolical. It seems like that's the thing that's got people on Twitter excited because it's just so absurd to have this tiny little handheld and then there's a crank on the side. I had some friends over this weekend and they were looking at it. They're like, okay, so it's like crank powered? No. Not at all. You're not going to go down to some cave and play games down there by, grinding the crank. No, it turns out that the crank is incorporated into gameplay for these games. And the interesting thing about how these games are delivered to you is that it is, I guess they're designing it for like water cooler moments, right? So it's rolling out with 2 games every week for 12 weeks. So it's like a season of games. And this is season 1 that's rolling out now for everybody if you buy this thing.
Are these sort of like bite-sized games? Are they small little experiences?
Yeah, well, they're all over the place. I haven't finished any of them, if that tells you anything.
Okay.
But yeah, some are like, okay, they're going for kind of a Link's Awakening feel here, natural on a handheld. That seems cool. Others are like, okay, it's a match 3. I got it. Okay, this one's kind of like an Asteroids clone, except you're using the crank to steer, stuff like that. So they're all over the place.
When you say you haven't finished any of them, I go, well, is it just because your hand got tired?
That could be. Yeah, that's why I don't go to the gym, because I've been using the Playdate cranks to such a ridiculous degree. My one arm is swole. So I think Panic's done a good job of like messaging this on their official site. They say they're talking about the games and they say, will you love them all? Probably not. Will you have a great time trying them? Absolutely. And I think that's a good way to put it. I think it is a fun little experiment. Like this isn't going to revolutionize gaming, but if you're looking for just an avenue for quirky games to come out on a regular basis, and it's probably going to be, an interesting little mini event, a little mini gaming holiday on Twitter when everybody's jumping on there to talk about or give their review of the new Playdate games, And so I think it's fun. I've enjoyed my time with this thing so far. It's $180. right now. They have attachments and all sorts of nonsense like that. But it's like, I'm just excited for somebody entering the gaming space and trying something new. Like, it seems like this is the best part of the game industry, is just celebrating something weird and new that no one's ever really tried before.
Yeah. No, I don't want to, yuck anybody's yum. And I certainly don't like being a negative Nancy, but so many of my friends got so thrilled by this thing and clamored for pre-orders and got so excited. And I kept going like, are you in love with this thing ironically? Am I missing something? Because honestly, if it worked like you said, where I could crank the power and play it during a blackout or whatever, I honestly think that would make more sense to me than the crank is the input device for some of these games. I mean, there's other input, like that has buttons too, right?
Yeah. It's got an A and a B button and then a D-pad, and a button up here where you can take screenshots and stuff like that. Yeah. I think the part that maybe you're missing is I think it's how like everybody likes to seem cool and hip. Like, I found the hip new little indie game that no one else is talking about. Imagine if instead of digging around on itch.io or anything, imagine it's just delivered wirelessly to your handheld device, and you can play it for 5 minutes and then get to weigh in on Twitter. So it seems like it's really tailor-made for some snobs in the gaming sphere on Twitter. And so maybe that's why there's so much hype being rammed down your throat for this thing.
If you weren't talking about this thing on MinnMax and kind of reviewing it, would you, sitting around with extra time on your hands, go, I'm going to reach for that Playdate device and put in some time?
Good question. I would have said, I don't know. I like checking out the new games and playing with them for a bit. But there's this one freaking game on here. And just a full disclosure, a couple full disclosures. First of all, Panic sent me one to review, and it broke. Like, the screen, I couldn't unlock it. It was a weird, buggy thing. They said they hadn't heard anybody else say that. So we'll see what it's like when they ship out all of them. But just heads up that mine broke. But they were very nice and sent me another one, which was very sweet. And then they unlocked all of the games for the entire season on this thing. So I've been spoiled just swimming through these things over the weekend. And a lot of them are interesting. It's fun diving around and stuff. But then there's this one game. And look, this is not a revolution, everybody, but there's a game called Pick Pack Pup that is just a little match 3. And it's designed by Nick Magnier and Arthur Hamier. But I love digging into their history. Like, one of them is just a designer at Ubisoft in Germany. And I love the idea of like somebody in the Ubisoft Borg system of thousands and thousands of developers just, hey, he just wanted to make a match 3 on the side for the Playdate. And it is delightful. You play as a puppy dog, believe it or not, that got a job basically at an Amazon warehouse. This is the lore backstory for Pick Pack Pup. But then it's just a match 3 where then after you match a certain amount of things, then they turn into packages. Then you hit the packages, it shatters those. If you're a fan of Bejeweled, simple stuff like that, which I have a weak spot for that type of simplicity in my mind, I have just loved it. And so, yes, I would keep going back to play Pick Pack Pup over and over again. When maybe it doesn't make sense. Like, my fiance is like, what are you doing? You could just play a match 3 on your phone. I'm like, yeah, but it feels so cool and different on this. And there's no microtransactions. You're not going to be annoyed. And also there's dozens and dozens of other games, which are probably more interesting for other people.
All right, I have one more question, and then Christian, you can hop in. The biggest question that I have about this whole thing is, are there different and novel ways to use the crank? Or is it basically you're cranking and it just does different things in games?
There's some novel stuff. Like, one of the first games that is unlocked is a little adventure game, and you're going around and you're taking pictures of birds. Birding, I forget what it's called exactly. And you're using the crank there to like adjust the focus for the camera. So it's like, okay, that's an interesting idea. Or one of them's kind of like a 360 breakout where you're using the crank to spiral around. One of them by Keita Takahashi, who made, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on one of the greatest games of all time, the greatest soundtracks of all time. You're rolling and you're collecting all the things and you're going through the house.
Katamari Damacy.
Thank you. My God. Yes. I remember his name, but not the famous game. Anyways, but he had a game called Time Travel Adventures on this thing where I guess it's a platformer where you're choosing to speed up time and slow down time based on how quickly you're cranking this as you're moving along. And so everybody's thinking outside the box with this thing so far. And that's kind of the fun thing, especially with the season 1, where all these developers just on their own are trying to think of, yeah, how do we incorporate a crank into gameplay? We've never really had to deal with this. And maybe the wildest thing, for season 1 at least, for everything I've played, not a single fishing game.
That is shocking. That is
Yeah.
shocking. Maybe they're just
It's too
waiting on that.
obvious.
They're going to drop it like the DJ building up anticipation and just drop the bass. It does look like a device that is not friendly to left-handed people.
Oh, that's interesting.
As speaking as one,
I hadn't
that.
considered that. I bet that is going to be an issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing is there's no backlight. That's a big takeaway. The first two things I think you'll notice picking it up is like, okay, no backlight. And then also, what's the other thing? The fact that it's 3D. I expected it to be kind of like 8-bit or 16-bit style stuff, but there's a lot of like cool 3D animation in these games. Like it's got more processing power than you would think just looking at it once, you know?
Christian, I recall, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I recall you being pretty excited about this thing when it was announced.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited about it when it was announced because it was also announced in what I like to refer to as the Woodstock of handhelds, you know, like where handhelds came back and it was the summer of love. And we had the Steam Deck was announced and the Switch Lite and the Playdate and everything was coming back handhelds. I did not pre-order a Playdate, mostly because I'm curious about season 2. Like, I don't need to have it in terms of like, this is the thing I need to play right now. I have, Analog Pocket. That's what it was. Steam Deck,
Yep.
Switch Lite, Analog Pocket, Playdate. I think Switch Lite had already come out, but like this, resurgence of handhelds, which is awesome. And so for my use case, the Analog Pocket is that better device. I think it and the Playdate, if I remember correctly, pre-orders went up like the same week, I feel like. If not, I've collapsed that in my head.
No, it seems about right.
And I'm curious how they keep delivering. Like it's cheap enough that if I saw it, if I had my credit card number memorized, and I saw it online somewhere, I could see in a moment of weakness, like buying it, or if I'm in Target and they have it, I'll be like, you know what? I have a hole in my heart that I need to fill with consumerism. I will buy this thing, but I don't know if it fills a gaming need for me other than curiosity. Of just like, will there be anything I like? And I don't know if that's a curiosity that I'm going for, right? Like I love the idea of being surprised about getting new things, and that's well and good, but I don't know if I'd want to subscribe to HBO Max if when they announced it, they were like, maybe.
I mean, that's kind of how they did announce HBO Max, to be fair.
No, they had all the HBO library. There's already stuff that I liked and stuff that I needed to watch.
People forget now because HBO Max is essential and awesome, but when it launched, it was terrible.
No, it was HBO Now. It was the same price as HBO Now. It was fine.
There was also HBO Now at that time. Anyway, we're not going to relitigate the HBO Max launch.
Yeah,
but yes.
Permission to treat this co-host as hostile? Permission granted.
That is, you asked permission 8 years ago on that one, Christian.
Well, yeah, it's still ongoing.
Imagine if HBO Max, though, every time a new show popped up, it had like a gift wrap on it. Then you had to hit the button, and then the paper was ripped off. You get to see what new game's coming for you. And again, I'm not trying to say, this is the greatest thing in the world. You know exactly what this is. You know exactly. Yeah. You have the right read on this. It is a quirky, funky little thing. And it seems like that was what Panic was trying to make. So mission accomplished as far as I can tell.
Yeah. And they got a lot of
new hardware
about it.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Hey, like I said, as soon as I saw this thing, I was like, I don't think it's for me, but I do enjoy, just as you said, Ben, the novel kind of, hey, what if? Why not?
Right.
Like, let's do something just completely different, and why not? And I think that's cool. That's cool. Everything doesn't have to be for me,
It is how Nintendo Switch Online works, right? Like for the three of us, I'm sure we see the press release beforehand and it outlines all the games. But if you're not covering it or focused on it that way, or reading internet sites or listening to podcasts about it, when you open up Nintendo Switch Online, the NES and SNES, and I guess N64, if you have the expansion pass plus, when there's a new game in there, Ben, it literally is. It's wrapped as a little present. You click on it, it unwraps, and it's like Mario Golf. And it's like, awesome. I like that idea.
I think the delivery of the games is actually the coolest part of this whole thing. As I think if you're the kind of person that's into this device in all its quirk, then that's right up your alley. It feels, because nobody's going to be like, well, I'm going to check out the review of the next Playdate game and see if it's for me. You know, like all of these are just weird kind of expressions of ideas. So why not have them be all surprises? You know, there's no, you know, you're going to be like, I'm holding out for the, you know, the big AAA release on Playdate or whatever, you know.
I do feel like the AAA equivalent is Lucas Pope's next game from Papers, Please, Return to the Obra Dinn. Like that game, I don't know. I know they're going to have an update and kind of a live stream detailing more things in Playdate's future. So maybe there's a release date now for people listening, but I feel like that's a big one on the horizon that I haven't played yet.
Very good point. Very good point. Well, amazing. Thank you for giving us the lowdown. Christian, are you more likely to want to get one of these, or are you kind of okay not having one?
Because I don't have my Steam Deck yet, I'm okay not having one, right?
Yeah.
Like I know I have that price tag coming up and that thing to tinker with. I think that my Steam Deck is going to give me a lot to tinker with, because I think I'm going to try to open it up and, you know, sideload some other OS on there and play with that a lot. But I love it, and I love how cute the Playdate is, right? Like it has such a great aesthetic. And when I was prepping for the video, my daughter was in here and she was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a new handout." She was like, "It's cute. I want it." Like, and then she walked out, and that was it. That was all.
You're in trouble, man.
You know, her interaction with it.
You're in trouble. That's just the beginning of cute. I want it. All right, Ben. What else is on your playlist?
Oh man, I've been playing a lot of Chrono Cross. Everybody, have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
Yeah,
does anybody have experience with this old RPG?
Yeah, throwback the Radical Dreamers edition. I know. I have.
I'll raise my hand.
Out, but tell me what you think of it.
I don't have experience with Chrono Cross. It's one of those big gaping holes in my life that, because there's only two, and the box art seemed weird to me as a younger person, and I was inundated with enough other. It came out in a time when there was so many other incredible JRPGs. For whatever reason, the Chrono series. It's total, and I know, Ben, that you're doing like some deep diving into them.
Literally, yeah, the deepest dive. It's a series we have over at MinnMax, where it's a game club thing where we have hundreds and hundreds of people in the MinnMax community all play through together, and we all submit comments, and then, you know, take the best comments from everybody. So it's a really fun way to like exhaustively go through these.
That's cool.
So I'm super curious on your take and kind of experiencing them that way, and also having had experienced them before.
Yeah. So Chrono Trigger we played a couple years ago, and I played it as a kid, of course. And Chrono Cross, I actually played before Trigger. And I'm trying to think of the best way to talk about the connections between these two games. They're pretty loosely connected. Here's a terrible analogy. It's a little bit like maybe Alien to Prometheus. That's Chrono Trigger to Chrono Cross, you know, where it's like there's something, it's not required, but it's gonna tie in lightly in a couple strains there.
You just made one of them sound terrible, though.
I know. Well, definitely there are people that don't like Chrono Cross. I remember there's a lot of hype. Naturally, Chrono Trigger is one of the greatest games of all time. So when it came out, there was so much hype, and GameSpot gave it a 10. And so, you know, as a 12-year-old kid, when it came out, I was like, oh my God, this is everything. I'm so excited for this. And I really enjoyed it back in the day. And I really hadn't played it since then. So it had been, it's been 23 years. Is that how math works? Yeah, 23 years since I played this thing. 22? Whatever that math is. So it's been wild to go back and revisit this game that I love so much with this remaster. And there's a lot to love in here. For the remaster specifically, people are definitely pointing out, hey, frame rate kind of sucks. Digital Foundry called it technically the worst running game on the PlayStation 5, which is rough. And the frame rate, especially in some combat scenarios, it can dip down, but it really hasn't impacted my enjoyment and love of this game in a big way, because along with the remaster, they do the old staple of giving you a fast forward button, which was technically in the original, but you had to beat the game as a new game plus type of thing. And you can turn off the fights now for Chrono Cross. Although it is like, there's those moments where you're going back to these beloved RPGs and realizing, oh yeah, for the remaster, like, what is it saying about the original game design where it's like, now you can turn off basically the entire game and speed through it, but hey, you know, it's great. But yeah,
it says that we're old, Ben. That's what it says.
I guess that's what it says.
You're old, but you have nostalgia and you have a paycheck now. Buy this game.
Right. But it's still, I mean, the core game, I think, holds up really well. I forget how smooth of an experience it is in a lot of ways. You know, there's basic quality of life stuff, which is really wild for a game that's kind of a spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger. They could have taken so much of the Chrono Trigger formula, but with Chrono Cross, they shook it up, changed up the combat, changed up the world, changed up so many things. And so just basic things like, oh, it's an RPG, but there's no MP, and you're healed after every fight. Just like these basic things are so wild, but it's so refreshing to play something so different. And it feels like the creators with Chrono Cross, just like the Playdate, they're taking a swing. Like they were going for something new. They weren't playing it safe. And it's lovely. And one of the bizarre things is playing it now, it's I don't know if you all have this experience, but just all media just seems sadder as you get older. And so playing through it now, there are so many characters that are just talking about the choices they made in life and whether or not they took the right path. Oh, they've wasted their life. It feels like a game written by somebody going through a midlife crisis. And it's all about parallel worlds. And so it's a lot about like, oh, I wonder if there's another me out there experiencing a better life. It's basically everything everywhere all the time. You know, it's
all at once. Yeah.
all at once. Thank you so much. Yeah. So if you love that movie, you got to check out Chrono Cross.
And if you have seen that movie, chances are you love that movie. It's incredible.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going through it with the deepest dive, and Rebecca Valentine from IGN is joining us for that adventure, and she had the good take of just playing it now later in your life when you've had to make more big decisions and choices in your life. A game all about the path not taken hits you emotionally a lot harder. So it's still working in a big way. I really love my time with it so far.
That's great. So do you think it transcends being just a nostalgia piece? And do you think for gamers that have never experienced it before, it would be worthwhile to spend the time with it?
Yeah, a majority of the people playing through the game with us in the MinnMax community are playing through it for the first time, and they're really enjoying it. Specifically, the soundtrack. I don't know if you've all heard legend of the soundtrack to Chrono Cross, but it is ridiculous. I mean, before this, it was always slam dunk in my mind for, I think that's the greatest game soundtrack of all time. And now playing it again, I think it has to be number one. Can you all think? Do you have a favorite soundtrack of all time from a game? Something that jumps up?
Donkey Kong Country is always at the top of my list. Probably 2, and then Tropical Freeze when I'm weak, but I feel like that's too new. But I love those Donkey Kong Country soundtracks.
Too new. You can't give into something new.
Not that new. Yeah, come on. I gotta wait a little.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've never been the soundtrack guy, but Halo is iconic and feels, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Smash Brothers Ultimate, if you want to make that case, that's like a weird compilation thing, but it's tough to argue with that, I guess, if you're going to factor
Tony
it
Hawk
in.
Pro Skater, right? Like, I mean, just licensed tracks.
Well, I mean, GTA 3.
Yes.
Or Vice City, even better, I guess, but yeah.
Totally.
But I guess that's kind of a cheat, it's like pop songs,
Yeah. But the big thing definitely from Chrono Cross is the soundtrack and the characters, because they pack so many characters in this game. It's absurd. You have 45 characters to recruit. So at a certain point, it just feels like Pokemon, where all these weirdos that you're getting along the way, and it's interesting because you can't get them all in one playthrough. So it's a lot of, especially when we're covering it with the deepest dive at MinnMax, like it's a lot of comparing of like, oh, I missed Razzie. How am I supposed to get Razzie? You didn't get Skelly. They're the best. What about Sprig? And just like, it becomes a fun conversation piece about like how people just miss this person. If they just would have taken a right in that dungeon, they could have had a whole new character in their team. So it's been a blast.
Chrono Cross back, man. That's really cool. I love it. And what a cool way to experience it with a bunch of other folks at the same time. That's awesome. So it's Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition. Christian Spicer, what has been on your playlist this week?
Well, thankfully, it has been a little bit of a continued, dare I say, lull. I hate to say a lull because there are still more hours in my backlog than there is time left in the year, I think. But as I continue to obsess over Kirby, it really does challenge for my, what are we, April 17th as we're recording this, favorite game of the year. And I think will stand that test of time to vie for somewhere on my list come into the year. Who knows, depending on everything else. And what I haven't
have to
talked
start
about,
doing like games of the half year,
Totally.
or this year, games of the February through April.
Yeah.
The thing I haven't talked about on this show, and the reason I wanted to bring it up again, are the treasure roads. We've talked about Big Mouth. I've talked about the level design. And what I think are so exquisite about the general levels in the game, it's not difficulty. I mean, it's almost what Ben was saying about Chrono Cross, where there are just completion things to do in the level, I'm using air quotes, that you probably won't do on your first time through. Not because it's hard, not because you're taking down a ring in a From game, a boss in a From Software game, but you just weren't exploring the level in that way. And then you see it and how to use a power in Kirby in those mainline levels. And it's this beautiful little fun aha moment that gets you to play through that level again. Nintendo does it all the time and almost all of their games. The Treasure Road levels in Kirby are these little rifts that appear on the overworld in between and around the landscape, otherwise in that overworld where you'd kind of go from main level to main level to main level. And they're super, they're time trials where it gives you a certain power that you have to use for it. So it's like, okay, here you're going to be doing sword, or here you need to have the Meta Knight sword unlocked, which then encourages playthrough of getting enough Waddle Dees and stars and other levels to be able to then go to the shop back in your village to be able to unlock the sword ability, to get the blueprint, to upgrade. So there's fun stuff like that incentivizes exploring through the main levels as well. But then these Treasure Road levels are little time trial levels, it almost akin to what was it in Mario Sunshine, the blue coin levels?
Right, totally.
Not quite as devilishly difficult as some of those blue coin levels were in Sunshine. I think some of those were very hard. But the beauty, again, of Kirby and the Forgotten Land in these Treasure Road levels, which for some reason I can't say quickly, is completing them is almost always fairly easy, right? It's like, oh, you use the bomb ability, you need to bomb these people to then clear out these people to do this, but it's satisfying, but something that you can do. And I'm technically playing on the harder, again, air quote, difficulty. Even then, it's not a challenge per se in terms of the combat, but it's like just enough of a pause, maybe an early or mid Captain Toad treasure tracker style level where you have to like think for just a second, like, oh, I blow these up, that advances me here and unlocks the switch. Cool. But what makes them, and for this last week for me, addictive is at the end, it tells you your time and then it tells you the goal time. And what do you get when you complete it at the goal time or faster? Not really anything. A couple more common stars or whatever they're called. If you complete it, you get your special star and you use those to unlock power-ups. If you complete it at the goal time, you get a few more, I forget what they are, the regular currency kind of in the game. And that's it. And a good job, a good attaboy.
Mm-hmm.
But my gosh, how they've built these worlds, at least the way to my skill level, I am always, Jeff and Ben, so close to that goal time on completion. Like never, very rarely there my first time through. And I'm like, I can do that. I can do that better. Yeah, I can definitely do that under 30 seconds. I know where I messed up. I know where, and it's like tapping into my, I could talk about Gran Turismo for a teensy bit after this, but it's tapping into that mentality of like one more run, but since it's not just a racing game, it's this slight little puzzle world progression. Ben, have you spent time with Kirby?
Yeah, I played the demo and I said, you know what? I've enjoyed a couple Kirby games in the past, but I think I get the idea. And then on the MinnMax Show podcast, Sarah and Janet were like, no, really, you should go back to it. I was like, okay. Then it completely derailed me from Elden Ring and I beat it. Like I really, really love Kirby. It really snuck up on me. And dare I say it, look, I'm not some baby gamer or nothing. It kind of gets hard by the end. Like the final boss was genuinely frustrating in a way that I did not see coming at all.
Yeah, the main levels can become difficult, especially on that, again, air quote, harder difficulty,
right,
where your kind of life matters. But it's a phenomenal game, I think, in terms of its creativity. And I didn't want this show to go by with failing to mention the Treasure Road, because I do think that has been some of my favorite part of Nintendo games are those blue coin levels, those special star levels in Mario games and this, that, and the other. And I love how they're incorporated in Kirby by forcing you into a power-up and then also incentivizing you to go out and play the other levels in order to unlock that other Treasure Road level with the upgraded version of the power-up. It's just such a simple, fun gameplay loop that when I load up Kirby, I always end up spending longer in it than I think I would because I keep going back to those levels. And oh my gosh, if you want to feel good about your time on any of them, just jump on old youtube.com. It's like 6 seconds clear of every treasure, and you're just like, "Oh, I suck at gaming."
Yeah, no, never look on YouTube to compare yourself to anybody. Bad idea.
No, what a dumb
not.
idea.
Yeah, that's
great.
The end of that game too, without spoilers or anything. It really gets bonkers. Like I'm playing it by myself. I had to really laugh out loud just for where that game goes. It's delightful.
I'm gonna have to pick this game up.
It's fun, man. It's just good, simple fun. Sometimes it's nice to play a game where you're never confused. You know exactly what to do and where to go, you know?
I really want to play it. There's just so much stuff right now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I think, Ben, kind of what you alluded to, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, I think maybe one of the worst demos, because the demo is just kind of the first level, which is so simplistic. It's like, oh, sure, this is a kiddie game by Nintendo, and you do this over and over and over again. And the game really builds on that first level in really fun, beautiful ways. And I think that demo is unfortunate in that regard.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else, Christian?
Quickly, I want to mention Gran Turismo 7 again, mostly because the Digital Foundry put out an excellent retrospective here this past week about the PlayStation 1 era Gran Turismos. It's like 45 minutes for this first one, and it's incredible, and everybody should go watch it. And watching that got me really excited about Gran Turismo 7. And one of the things they talk about in that retrospective is just how the game, if you go back to Gran Turismo 1 or 2 now, they're actually pretty dang arcadey in terms of like their physics and their approach. But when they came out, they were like heralded as the great sim racer.
Yeah.
And then my analysis of that, I think it's fascinating to see how Gran Turismo 7 has pushed a little more, or Gran Turismo over the years has pushed a little more into sim, still not being a hardcore PC sim racer, but more into sim, but also how arcade games have really tapped into the sim stuff that old Gran Turismo was doing. And it's like before it's like, oh, you can tweak this or that or whatever, and you can upgrade your car and you can do all this stuff. And it's so incredible. And then you had like Need for Speed where you're, you know, whatever, you're blowing stuff up, jumping through a helicopter, doing donuts on the moon, but you can also tune your dampeners, you know? And it's been really interesting to see how, I guess, how every game's become an RPG is the third person action game equivalency of this, and how every racing game has become a little bit of a sim.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all. That's all I wanted to say. Gran Turismo 7 is excellent.
That's very cool. I put 10 more hours into Horizon Forbidden West this week as I'm moving toward finishing that game. I will talk more about it when I do, but I want to do everything in that game. I absolutely adore that game. I love it. There's not a game world I am more interested in than the world of Horizon. I think it is so interesting, so well thought out. It has so many nooks and crannies that I find fascinating. All of the expression of the story, I think, is top notch, from the writing to the voice acting to the way the camera positions, and it's so cinematic. I love the combat. I want to do everything in that game. So like, I could be finished with it by now, but I'm not, because I'm ticking off all the map icons. You know,
you sound so defeated with your love. It's a tone I can't wrap my mind around.
Well,
man.
the problem is that I feel like everybody has moved on from this game except me. And I mean, the pace of incredible must-play games is so fast these last few months that I feel like, it's shameful that I haven't finished this game yet and moved on to the next. Elden Ring.
Pick Pup is sitting right there for you, Jeff.
Pup! I'm gonna crank it. So I guess that's the tone that I'm striking, is like, I'm still working on that game. It's a joy for me to play that game. So I'm still playing it.
No, I don't think you're alone. I think definitely there's millions of fans of that series and that game in particular that I think are frustrated that, Elden Ring is just absorbing all the conversations. Now all the talk about Horizon just feels like, Horizon, they tried. Oh, well, moving on. And so, you go ahead and love it, man.
Thank you. The other thing that's is my crank, honestly. My addiction is Vampire Survivors. I talked about it last week. I'm sorry, folks. The combination of Vampire Survivors and having a Steam Deck has ruined me because all I want to do is get another round of Vampire Survivors in. Are you a Vampire Survivors guy, Ben? Have you?
Yeah, actually, I just got a Steam Deck this weekend too. So it was one of the first games I downloaded because everybody was saying it's just the best pairing. It's one of those I tried a little while ago and was like, okay, I see what they're doing here. I don't know if I want to go down this rabbit hole. And now I'm starting to throw myself into the black hole of Vampire Survivors. Do you got any hot tips for me? I know you're a big garlic guy.
Go garlic, all garlic all the time.
Okay.
I mean, I have tried a number of different builds. I think friend of the show Danish Syed and I are going to have a conversation that we'll put up probably either as a main show or paid show bonus stuff about it because he's way deep in it too. The thing I haven't done, which I'm always reluctant to do, is like go to YouTube or Reddit and find out like the people who MinnMax and people who like, theory craft and like tell me that, because I sort of just want to feel it. I want to feel it in the moment, like what I'm drawn to, what I like, and then see what works. And I know that there's probably a math equation that tells me which power-ups to take at any given time. But I mean, I love it. I've been playing a lot of Poe. I think Poe is the name of the character that starts with garlic. And then, like the combination, just making me like this tank that can just walk into enemies is so fun. You can have the Bible that rotates around you. And then you get the power-ups that increase area of effect. So your little garlic stench gets wider and wider and wider out there. So very good. So very good. What? And I'm like hooked on the library level. Because I just think the library level lets you level up, especially with garlic, lets you level up way faster than any of the other levels. And so I can like try builds out. And I was going for like a armor build for a while where I'm just like, what if I just don't take any damage when I run into people? And, so yeah. And I also love the guy, I can't remember his name, the guy that gives you an extra projectile of every type. So then like the goal is to just have as many different types of
that's
projectiles
awesome.
at once, and everything's just like flying out of you and at this mad pace. Anyway, I promised myself I wasn't going to talk about that game again, and here I am.
It's understandable. I gotta say, like the first time you get one of those items that just on the map, that's just like a magnet for all the experience on the map, and just comes in. One of the best feeling moments in gaming this year. It is just unbelievable then to watch your just bar to go just all the way up. It's so satisfying.
I was on a plane this morning playing Vampire Survivor on my Steam Deck, and I had leveled up the garlic to a certain point where there was a moment in the level where I realized it was sending such hordes of enemies, but none of them had HP that could get to me. So I stood in one spot and just watched them all melt at the edge of my aura. And the mountain of blue dots that was just around me, it was so satisfying because then after a while I was like, I'm just going to wade into the experience. It was so rad. It was so rad.
What constitutes a good run versus a bad run?
Getting farther.
But yeah, so like, is there you keep going back to it.
Yeah. And
maybe I just need to play it. It's like, hey, just spend the $3. I clearly, if only I had my credit card number memorized. But like, you sit down to play it. I'm wondering if it's like Tetris. I'm trying to find the analogy where it's like, oh, that was a really good run and I cleared the most lines I've ever cleared, but I think I can do better, or I want to play it again. Or is it, like there's Splunky or something.
Oh, what was the second game?
Splunky, where it's like, oh, I see what I did wrong, and if I do this, I equip this gear in this run.
It definitely harkens back to an arcadey experience like Pac-Man or Space Invaders or something. It definitely feels like, how far can I go on one quarter? And in this case, one quarter is just pushing start. But and you are weaving in and out of things as you might in a Pac-Man style game. It's pathfinding and trying to stay alive and not let the bad thing touch you, except for when you want it to. And the progression that I went through early on in the game is going from, oh my gosh, I have to avoid things, to, oh, there are certain enemies that provide opportunities that I don't want to avoid. And then it's there's a bunch of trash, and then you're trying to get to the enemy that drops the treasure chest that gives you the good stuff. So then you're like trying to figure out ways to you build your character, because what happens is every time you level up, you're given 3 options, unless you increase your luck and then you get more options, but you get 3 options to choose from. So those are randomized. So you can't always decide how you want to build your character. You're kind of, given a hand of cards and trying to make the best of it, weaving your way level by level. And that's really fun. That's really fun because you go, okay, well, the game has sort of forced me into a position that I didn't anticipate, but how do I maximize that? Right? How do I, okay. So I had to take a couple of skills that I wouldn't have particularly chosen. Well, now maybe I want to double down on those skills and see how powerful I can get them. Because if you level up the same skills over and over, eventually they evolve and they get really powerful and cool. And then you go, okay, well, in order to defeat certain types of enemies, I want to definitely have projectiles that I can aim, because most of the stuff in the game you can't aim. It just goes wherever it goes. And so you find yourself like having this dance with the enemies that you want to kill, where you're getting close to them and running away and getting close and timing the abilities that are proccing. So there's tons of skill in it, tons of skill, akin to something like a Tetris. But it is also immediate and fun. And the randomization of it is really, I think, the hook of going, I never, you and I, when it had first come out, Christian, we would talk a lot about Dead Cells. And there were times in Dead Cells where you're just like, this run there's no point in me continuing, because I just didn't get lucky enough to get the things that I wanted. So why even keep going? I've never felt that in Vampire Survivor. Maybe because, the runs are much shorter than other games. So in that sense, you're like, there's not a lot of sunk time, but also there's always, even when like the first 3 or 4 levels, I'm getting stuff that I'm not super excited about. There's always this feeling of exploration going, okay, well, how can I make this build cool? Like, what do I do next to accentuate the positives? I find that really, really fun.
Yeah.
Ben, quick question.
Yes, sir.
The game came out in early access in December 2021.
Yeah.
Is this a Game of the Year contender?
I think you should probably talk about it. If you're passionate about it this year, put it in the conversation. Yeah. I mean, for me, I still need to experience the true majesty of it. I'm an admirer right now, but I'm ready to fall in love. But I think it's going to be in the discussion.
Jeff, is this a favy? Is this in there?
100%. I mean,
so
100%.
Your year is broadened. Are you adapting if I play it, we can bring it in?
I early access. I mean, are we judging release date? Early access
out yet.
Release? Huh?
That's all it is, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
What about, so what if I fall in love with Rogue Legacy 2, which comes out in like 2 weeks? But I had it in early access, 2 years ago?
Well, Vampire Survivors, I think, is still only early. What I'm trying to say is,
I hear you.
The arbitrary lines of years and times and whatever is hard with Game of the Year stuff. Jeff, what we should start doing is, instead of doing like favorite of the year, we should just call it like the 3rd annual Favies, right? Like the Oscars. It's like, what year is the Oscars? It's the 83rd Academy, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like it's tough.
Christian just wants to completely destroy any discoverability of our show. The thing that people get excited about reading about at the end of the year? Yeah, let's not reference that at all anymore.
Just for the sake of Vampire Survivors.
No. People are going to come to the verse to hear about the Favies.
Yes.
Welcome to the verse. All right, well, I told myself I wasn't going to talk about any of that stuff, because the thing I really wanted to talk about is some VR.
Virtual reality. VR. Virtual reality. Just VR.
We don't have to talk about a ton of things, but a very big VR game came out recently, and I went through all the trouble of replugging in my PSVR to talk about it.
Wow. Hero.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, not all heroes wear capes. Sometimes we wear outdated headsets.
You also sent an email. Don't pretend all you did was plug in a headset. Like, you put some effort into this, you know?
Yes. No, Moss. So Polyarch's Moss book 1. You and I both, Christian, still recommend when anybody says, "Hey, I just got a Quest," or "I just got into VR, I just got a VR headset." What are the must-play games? Invariably, Moss, one of the top 5 games we recommend, and for good reason. It is phenomenal, such a wonderful experience. But it was always envisioned as an episodic game, a very short experience. I think I remember playing the first Moss in one sitting, which is a great way to play it, I would attest. But it's very, very short and ends kind of on a cliffhanger. It was intended to be an episodic type experience. So it has been a little bit long wait, at least from my perspective, for book 2. But book 2 has arrived. Unfortunately, as of now, it is only available on PlayStation VR. Polyarch has said they are feverishly working on bringing it to other VR headsets, which makes me excited because I want to play it on Steam and I think it would be great on Quest. But I have to say, as somebody whose PlayStation VR has been in a box for quite a while, I am reminded at how perfect an experience Moss is on that platform. Because it is a game that you play with a controller. You're not having to waste your time with the stupid Move controllers for hand tracking, which it was never a good idea. It was always retrofitted and unfortunate. But the game doesn't even worry about that. I think, Astrobot and Moss, these are great PlayStation VR games because you're sitting, you're holding a controller, you're still in the VR space. And I think the optics of the headset are not state of the art by any stretch now, but they still kind of hold up. I was struck by how beautiful Moss Book 2 looks in the original PlayStation VR, which I am playing not on my PlayStation 5 because I never bothered to get the stupid dongle you need to
It's
do
hard
that.
to get. People that want it don't have it. Like,
Yeah.
you can't. They send it to you. It's not an easy thing to come by. It's frustrating.
It's very frustrating. But I plugged my old PlayStation 4 Pro back in to do this. And the game is gorgeous in VR. I mean, beautiful. I mean, the kind of thing that sells people on the technology. If you have a friend who's skeptical about VR and you have a PlayStation VR, get Moss Book 2, play a couple of levels, and you'll be like, oh, I mean, the first level, it's stunning.
It looks that much better than book 1. I think it's a big leap.
Book 1 is beautiful too. I think they put way more care and time into little details, into making these lush environments, and much more variety in them than in the first installment. Again, if you're not familiar with this game, static camera. So your head is kind of the camera, but you're in one spot. You're kind of looking at this little diorama world, and you can peek around inside it, but you move a character through it from one perspective, and then you move to a new area, and then you're in a new perspective, and you sit there, which works really, really great because you'll never get nausea from VR. If you're even slightly sensitive to it, you never experience that because you're just looking around. You feel like you're looking inside this box of a thing. And you look up and there's these huge cathedrals and you're in these lush vegetation. And I can't tell you the number of times in playing this game, I stood up and leaned in and looked around things. And almost always when you do that, you're rewarded because there's some little fun piece of geometry or cool feature that is hidden behind a thing from your original perspective that you'll see by literally leaning your head. It's a joy. It's a joy. And it's so gorgeous. I mean, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful game. And on really old tech for this, medium.
Yeah, I feel bad for it. It feels like it's kind of, there's these PSVR releases that are trickling out. I think of what Song in the Smoke that came out, the
Yeah.
survival game not too long ago as well. And it just seems like people aren't talking about it because PlayStation's kind of trying to be quiet to get ready for the big unveiling of PSVR 2 when they finally start talking about games there. So
Yeah.
it's a weird spot, but hopefully with PSVR 2, these games kind of get a second wind and they say, hey, and also these other great games will look great in PSVR 2, because it's really a shame.
Yes. I mean, I can't wait to replay this game in a better headset, frankly.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to look just that much better. But that's not to take anything away from how it looks now. I don't think anybody who has PlayStation VR will think it doesn't look. I mean, it looks better than most other PlayStation VR games. It's gorgeous. Art direction, animation. I mean, if you remember, if you played the first game, Quill, the way she moves is so lovely. You give her little high fives, and
that's right.
She's always reacting to you. So the premise of this game, or these games, is that you are the reader in this book, which is very much a fairy tale about this little mouse. Think Secret of Nim or something. And you directly control the mouse, but the mouse is also aware of you as this spirit of the reader. And you are a presence in that world. So if there's ever a reflection, you can see yourself in the reflection as this spirit. And you simultaneously control Quill, which is a little mouse with a sword, and other weapons in this one, which is super cool. And also interact with the world. So you have to get Quill, through this space. You move objects to let her jump on them, this light platforming stuff. You change the environment, stretch things and grow things and stuff like that. And you also can occupy bad guys for her, or distract them, or do certain things to them in order to allow her advantage in combat. So it's like you're doing two things at once. You're actually controlling her combat and then grabbing bad guys with your controller and moving them around. It's really novel and cool. And it's retained in the sequel, but there's lots more new stuff to do here as well. She gets new weapons. There's new kinds of puzzles. It's a cool progression from book one. And I love it. I mean, I love it. I think this is so charming. It's so beautiful. It's a home run, and I just hope a lot of people get a chance to play it. Like I said, Polyarch is working on bringing it to Quest and to Steam, so that other headsets, you can play the game. And I can't wait for more people to play it, because I just think it's so beautiful and so lovely and so charming. I mean, there's such clearly a labor of love here in the level of detail and the way the world works and the storytelling, and it's great.
My gut is that the work being done to get it to other platforms is waiting for the exclusivity period to expire.
I'd imagine.
Yeah, we don't know that for
game,
sure, but it seems that way.
The first game, had that, and was ported across devices very well. It ran on everything. It looked great. So I have to imagine that work had been done. But yeah, the quote isn't going to be, we are waiting for our 1 year on the Epic Game Store, whatever. Like, we are so proud to launch on PlayStation VR for 6 months. After that, get it wherever you can.
Right.
But the expectation with this is that it will be everywhere, which I think is awesome. So I think we've talked about it before on the show, Jeff, that, we're big fans of VR being a screen. And the more, just in general, the more places you can play all the things, the better. But VR especially, because it is, you don't have, this is an LG OLED exclusive.
Yeah.
Play this game only on your Samsung QLED TV.
Right.
And that's kind of what, I know there's also tech in VR, the headsets, but it's always a bummer when games are locked behind a headset.
Yes, 100%. And I'm hoping, that being said, though, I will reiterate that this is a great PlayStation VR game. I know there are lots of people listening that got PlayStation VR and probably haven't used it in a while. This is a great reason to pull it out and get all those stupid cables and extra boxes and stuff. I went through it. It's all sitting behind me. I went through all of it, cursing the whole time, like, oh, it's so annoying to do all this again. And then I sat down and went, oh, right. This is the reason that PlayStation VR is a good experience, is for games like this. And I want more games like this. I want more VR games where I don't have to play in first person perspective. I don't need my hands tracked. I think VR is a very, very good third person action on a controller medium. Like there needs to be more games like that because it's fantastic to just be immersed in the game world, have it be all around you, but you're still playing a video game in the way that you expect to play a video game. It's completely viable, I think.
I'd love to see Insomniac do more of that again, like Edge of Nowhere and then Raw Fury or whatever. Not Raw Fury, whatever the animal.
Feral
Rights.
Yeah.
Wow. Very impressive, you guys. Very impressive.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Edge of Nowhere, no one talks about, but I thought was an awesome experience on PSVR as well.
Yeah, and I wonder with them being owned by Sony now, I wonder with the PSVR too, if they have that big debut, it's like, and by the way, here's 3 Insomniac games. That'd be incredible.
I mean, that is my hope, and it was my prediction at the beginning of the year that's like, we just haven't heard anything about it yet, but I'm hoping that Insomniac shows up in a big way. They have the experience making VR games, and I think that the developers there like VR because they chose to work on it. So.
It matters, Jeff. They already showed a first-person Horizon VR game. Horizon's your favorite. VR's your favorite. You're not going to play anything else.
I can't believe it. That game better be good. I wanted the game to be good so bad. But I mean, I also want Spider-Man. Come on, VR Spider-Man. Come on. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to puke so hard. It's going to be great.
All right. Anyway, Moss Book 2, very, very, very good. Highly recommend it. I know we're already sort of at time, but we haven't done it in so long, and Ben's here with some actual games that he's played. Let's carve out a little bit of tabletop time.
Tabletop time. Right now.
I know I have neglected tabletop time. I know that there are some folks who don't care for the tabletop time on the show, others who are passionate about it. I see you. I love you. And I also purchased my first board game in like 2 years. COVID, it was just so depressing. Like I didn't play board games. But I feel like we're kind of getting back. I purchased a game. I'm so excited. Ben, you have been playing some tabletop.
Yeah.
What have you been playing?
Well, I think my favorite game that I've been playing a lot recently is called Time Barons. Are you familiar with Time Barons?
I've never played it, but I do know of it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny you all mentioned Spelunky earlier because Derek Yu from Spelunky fame, he was the co-designer of Time Barons. I found out about it because another one of my favorite games in recent memory is called Dust Biters. Did you play Dust Biters, the 2-player Mad Max style game?
I have not played that.
Oh my God. It is my favorite 2-player tabletop game. So please check out Dust Biters, everybody.
No, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, full disclosure, they were sponsored on the podcast. We talked about them a lot, but they sipped it to me and it was like, oh, this is genuinely amazing. I'm so excited about Dust Biters. Anyways, but the designers of Dust Biters said that Time Barons was a big inspiration for them. And I love RTS games, specifically the Age of Empires series. And so Time Barons, it feels like you're playing an RTS. Imagine like an RTS game, but if it was turn-based. I don't know how you'd even begin to describe it. But no, it's great because it's 2 to 4 players, competitive. You can have teams, but it gives that great vibe of just a silly free-for-all, if you want it that way, in an RTS game where it's making moves, you're taking cards, you're building up your town, you're choosing who to attack. People are dying left and right. There's secret alliances. It is just a delight. And the reason that I connected to Age of Empires in a big way is, and the reason it's called Time Barons, is there are kind of 4 ages of warfare, and you can choose to level up and go through the ages and get better and better tech. So somebody could be just all in on, I'm going to stick with age 1 to try and do as much as I can with these cards, compared to somebody else like, okay, I'm going to gun it, find a way to get to stage 4, then get a laser death ray, and I'm going to be shooting your battering ram with my laser death ray. It's great. Unfortunately, it is out of print. But I found it on eBay for like $50, and they let you just print the cards and stuff on their site if you want to play it that way. But yeah, Time Barons, it's really a delight.
It says there was a second edition published by WizKids in November of 2017, which certainly could still be out of print now.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that one also is. But yeah, you can go to their official site and they give you everything you need. Just for the cards, I guess you still need to get little pieces and stuff to round it out. But yeah,
Very
I
cool.
hope a new edition comes in at some point.
Time Barons. I love any kind of time travel-y stuff on tabletop games. I have so many time travel board games because I always love the way the designers try to figure out how to do that with just cards and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, it's nice and simple. I love it.
All right, Christian, you played some tabletop recently, right?
I've had some ready for when we got to revisit tabletop time.
Yeah.
We have a few that we go back to. The one I want to start with, because we played it a lot at that beach house, whatever that was a couple episodes ago, that our friends purchased, I think, kind of on a whim. It was like they were at the shop, like, oh, this looks cute. We're going to be hanging out with people. I'm going to buy it. It is a game called Avocado Smash. It is a simple party game. It's from Ridley's Games, not, fancy board game award winner that you will hear talked about, as winning some. What's the German? There, thank you. But it's fun, especially in that party element. So, Case looks like a little avocado, which is also really cute. Who doesn't like a little avocado? And the way the game, essentially, you have cards and they're all numbered, and you put them down. And when you put them down, you kind of go around the circle. Let's say there's 4 of us or 3 of us playing. I put down my card, whatever it is, and I say 1 avocado. Then Jeff would put his down and say 2 avocado, Ben 3 avocado. Except the mind freak that's going on is that you put down a card, it has a number on it. So I'll put down my card and it will say 3, but I say 1 avocado, and then Jeff 2. And so when then someone's card matches the number they say, you have to all slap in the middle, like that classic kind of slap. Last person in has to take all the cards. So the goal is to get rid of all your cards. And it keeps you keenly aware. It's like showing someone the picture of the color red, but they have to say blue. And it's just that slight disconnect going on. So you're like 3 avocado, but I'm putting down a 4. And it's like, that's not what I'm supposed to be. Okay, good. And you kind of keep going. And then when you hit 15, you go back. And then there are 2, so you start back at 1 again. So you can get a pretty big stack if people are going. You just never happen to put down the number you're saying. And then there are 2 wild card cards, I guess, and one is called Smash, which is where the avocado smash comes in. And so you put it down, and it's you just have to go. Everybody has to get in there, right? Get their hands in there. It's a smash. And then the other one is guacamole, where you put that down. You have to say guacamole and not smash. Again, sitting here talking, very simple. But when you're sitting around playing with a group of friends and it's going pretty quickly and you're all turning over cards, like, don't smash, okay. And then, you're actually slapping each other's hands, but be kind. It's a very fun, casual, loose game with friends. And if they're doing other adult things while playing, it gets silly very quickly.
Love a good party game. And the sillier, the better sometimes, Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you smash on guacamole, you have to take all the cards. If you don't smash on Smash, it's and then it got us to watching Turquoise Jeep's video, Smash It and Bang It, which is also always great. Old Turquoise Jeep YouTube videos, but it's fun. It's simple enough that play with anyone, right? My kids love playing Avocado Smash. It's fun with a group of adults. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Kind of like getting back to a place in the world where I'm playing party games again. I had my family in town a few weeks ago, and I pulled out Wits and Wagers, which I hadn't played in so long. And it's like, oh, I love Wits and Wagers. I love party games. I love doing this. I love playing board games. And it just feels like there's this big black hole in the last, 2 to 3 years where I couldn't do any of that. And I'm just glad to be back. And I want to do more tabletop time. If it needs to be part of the paid DLC show, we can do that. Whatever the folks want. But I love talking board games, and I just haven't been playing them almost in this kind of mourning, I probably could have played some stuff with my wife, but it just felt like I can't play board games. I just felt sad over the last while.
Your kids are close to, I know like great kid board games, but they're also close now to where you all will have some real fun playing games that you actually love and not just
Oh, I mean, I could go on and on. My son pulled out. I don't know what drew him to it because, again, I have walls of board games. So I don't know what drew him to this one in particular. It might be his love of Hot Wheels, but he pulled out Formula D, which I think you've played with me, Christian, which is a great game, racing game. And he's like, Daddy, can you teach me how to play this? And I was like, I've been waiting for you to say those words. So yeah, I mean, we played some Formula D and he was excited. I mean, he lost interest. Formula D is really cool because it comes with these this like gear box that you literally shift to gears and it changes the die that you roll. It's super slick. I love that game. But you have different dies, and depending on what gear you're in, you go faster because you're rolling literally a different die. And it's got, a physical gearbox that's like a 3-dimensional thing, and you move a gear, and it's cool. And he got super enamored with that right away, and he loved the little cars and moving them around and building has a variable 2-sided board that you can change the racetrack. So he loved all of the tactile stuff about it. And then we played for a little while, and he was kind of doing it, and then he lost interest kind of fast. But I'm really close, Christian, really, really close. Yeah.
One other one to mention quickly here as we're talking about it, and I'll save another one for another time when we do it. I love Uno. We've talked about Uno on this show. It was a great game on Xbox Live to show people your privates with the webcam back in the day. Always a good time.
More civilized era, yeah.
Yeah, when that's what we did on the internet. But they keep making new Unos, and this isn't a particularly new one, I don't think, in the grand scheme of things. But there's like Uno All Wild, and the one that we've been playing a lot now is Uno Flip. It's great. It's such a great. So Uno Flip, you have Uno, classic Uno on the front, but then on the back is Dark Uno. Dark Uno is like everything is worse. Instead of like skip or pick up 2, it's like pick up 10. Like the stakes are raised for everything, and so you hit it by hitting a flip. Like instead of playing a wild or whatever card, you throw down a flip, and then everybody has to flip their deck. And it's fun to play with competitive adults also because you can see everybody's flipped cards.
Oh, right.
You're holding your card.
Right.
Cool.
And when you play with some hyper competitive board game people who think they're going to be able to keep track of everybody's flipped card, you can see people's eyes being like, okay, well, she has that, and then I have this. I'm going to flip this. And it becomes this, like you mind check yourself out of the moment. But just the act of flipping and making it into like everything is air quote worse, and then flipping it back to standard Uno, simple change to a forever classic game. But that and Uno, what's the one where it shoots cards out at you? That's my favorite. Uno Go? Uno,
I don't know.
It feels like a little battery operated thing that when you have to draw a card, you push a button, and sometimes it shoots cards at you and sometimes it doesn't. So it adds that little variability, and how many cards it shoots out is different. Love it.
Uno paper cuts? I don't know.
No, Uno lose an eye. That's why it's called Uno. But Uno Flip, it's awesome. Not to be overlooked when you're at Target.
As we are recording this, it is Easter Sunday, and I will have you know, Christian, that the Easter Bunny brought my kids Minecraft Uno.
Ooh.
Which we have not taken the plastic off of yet, but there was a lot of excitement about the Minecraft Uno. Shockingly, because they have both never played Uno and never played Minecraft. So one wonders why the excitement, but there was excitement.
What a weird gateway for them to get into either path,
Yes. It's
Uno
so strange.
Attack. Uno Attack
Uno
is the
Attack.
one where it
Oh, that makes sense.
launches.
All right.
It's fantastic.
Well, hopefully you'll hear us do more frequent tabletop times. And I know some of the audience cheering, others pressing the 15-second skip on their devices. We appreciate both of you. But this brings us to the end of the show. We do have parting gifts coming up, so stick around for those. But Ben Hanson, always so much fun hanging out with you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. Congratulations on the Patreon. I mean, we didn't really unpack everything you all are doing. You got the new logo, the Corey Schmitz. My God, that's creme de la creme, the finest around.
We it took us 8 years, but we got the right person for the job. That's for sure. But tell folks about MinnMax and all the cool stuff and ways that they can check out your content.
Yeah, the main thing, the flagship show is the MinnMax show, and that's MinnMax with 2 N's in honor of Jeff Kanata, of course.
Hey, I like it.
So please check that out on your favorite podcast app. And then if you're a Chrono Cross fan, we need to stick together. There's really not that many of us. Please, we need you. You can check out youtube.com/MinnMax, again with 2 N's, and The Deepest Dive is what that series is called. The first discussion is up there now, and we cover the first 6 hours of the game or so, but we're covering the game all month, so it's not too late to jump in. Just watch them. You can unlock the podcast version on our Patreon if you want. You can submit questions and comments, and we'll read it on the show. So it's a big community game club, so check us out. Also, we have a show called Trivia Tower, which Christian was the co-host of a couple months ago. It's our monthly trivia show with great prizes. Win a code for Elden Ring, win an Asteroid 40 headset, and all that stuff by just knowing a thing or two about video games. So that's coming up on April 28th. And we have Kit and Krista. Speaking of new Patreon people, they're going to be joining us, and it's going to be an all Nintendo trivia round. So get ready for that.
That should be fun.
Yeah, so that's again on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/MinnMax with 2 N's.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Christian Spicer, what about you? What do you got going on this week?
Well, I should say, when Ben says co-host, much like this show, Jeff, it is one person doing all the heavy lifting and me just coasting by on their good looks and charm. Trivia Tower is an incredible show, and I am stupefied by how seamless you are able to pull it off, my friend. And also, your audience's knowledge astounds me every single time, where it's like, I'm going to show you 1/16 of this 1/8 of a Chrono Cross. Okay, well, we'll move on to the next question.
Yeah, the spoiler is every answer is Chrono Cross. So jump in, everybody. You'll love it.
What games has Ben been playing? Chrono Cross. It's all Chrono Cross. I am going to continue to mention things that I am working on here, but I will say probably only this time until I can mention it again. The thing I am working on, I can't talk about until probably the end of the year, but I'm very excited about it. So
It's
I won't do it again.
Top 5 of the year list. He's been working on
It
it.
is.
Hard.
It is me wondering whether or not Vampire Survivor counts as a top 5 of the year. I will say I bought a teleprompter, which is fun and exciting for something I will talk about. People have asked for me to put my newsletter into video form.
Oh, cool.
And I already write my newsletter very much as a conversation with people. So I was like, you know what? I have a hole in my heart that only consumerism can fill. I will buy a teleprompter and see how that goes. So I'm going to be tinkering with that. Maybe patrons look out for something video stuff. Jeff and I may be talking about other fun stuff. And that newsletter, which will not change in its frequency or style, can be found at tinyletter.com/Christian Spicer. My most recent one was about open world games and side quests. And we've had a really fun conversation with folks replying and talking back about the idea of an all side quest game. Like, what's that open world game where there really is no main quest? It's just clear the map, make the world a better place, be a person, which I think have been fascinating discussions.
It's just called Murder Hobo.
Okay. Well, makes it a lot less fun discussion. And then Twitter @Spicer, SPICER. And this show, you can watch the video version of this show as a patron over at patreon.com/DLC pod.
Plus the bonus show, paid DLC, which is exclusive to patrons. And if you want a ad-free version of the show, you can get that too. So many options for you. Check it out. Patreon.com/DLC pod. Also, if you want to hear me talk about other stuff, you can hear me talk about movies and TV shows at the Filmcast, which is available where you get podcasts. I have a comedy science show where you can learn something and laugh along the way. It's called We Have Concerns. You can find that at wehaveconcerns.com. I also do the fan-controlled football, which had its opening weekend this last weekend, which is why I was flying and went to Atlanta, Georgia. All the games are played in Atlanta, this incredible stadium called Pullman Yards. And Terrell Owens is in the league. Johnny Manziel is in the league when he decides to show up. And it is a blast. I'm calling football games, which is something I never thought I would do. And I am having so much fun working with an incredible crew of people and this amazing stadium. And it's wild. It is a mashup of football and video games, which is why I'm involved. And it's like Madden in real life. The fans control the game and call the plays. Now, I should say, some NFTs are involved. So if that scares you, I understand. There's also a bunch of teams that have nothing to do with NFTs. So you can enjoy the games if you want and not have to think about it. But I also know that NFTs make people very angry. I've gotten lots of angry emails from folks that I'm involved in it at all. But I like football, and this is a pretty cool company that does some really cool, interesting things. And it's there's really decent folks at the top of it, which makes me heartened as well. So check it out if you're so inclined. Twitch.tv/FCF. I do a show on Friday nights, and then I host or co-host in the booth real life football games with real humans, elite athletes. Incredible. All right, let's wrap the show up now with our parting gifts.
Hey, give us a suggestion of what to do this week. Give us a parting gift. This is your parting gift.
Ben, do you have a suggestion to help people get through their week?
I do. It's a very timely reference. I just finished watching the Mary Tyler Moore Show for the first time in my life.
Wow,
Went
that is
through
so
all
cool.
7 seasons with my fiance. Finally finished it off. Hell of a show, everybody. I feel like a lot of people maybe my age are like, I don't know, some old show. I guess I vaguely know who Mary Tyler Moore is, but I'm a big fan of James L. Brooks. If you're a fan of The Simpsons, he's a producer on that, And so not too long ago, I kind of dove into his history and really loved broadcast news in a big way. And so I was just hungry for more James L. Brooks, which brought me to Mary Tyler Moore and flew through that show. It's got so much heart. It's so funny. And it's fun to see kind of the kernels of The Simpsons in there in a way where it's hey, it's a lovable group of losers and they're on the broadcast team, but every other station's just kicking their butt at all times in the ratings, but they're doing their best and they stick together and it's a delight. Also just, living in Minneapolis, it's very fun. So
That's
it's
awesome.
set in Minneapolis. So we got to go, we drove around and actually found the house that Mary Tyler Moore lived in. That's like for the exterior shots and stuff, which turns out just a couple miles away from where we live. So it's a super fun show to watch.
What a cool thing. It's on Hulu, right?
Yeah. Watch it on Hulu.
I may have mentioned this on the show way back, but right at the beginning of the pandemic, when everything was so dark and just bleak, and we didn't know anything about this disease, and it just felt like it was the darkest of darkest times. I started watching the old Dick Van Dyke Show on Hulu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just to feel better,
Totally.
because it's such a view of sort of wholesome kind of a time in America that kind of never existed, but only existed on television. But Mary Tyler Moore, of course, is in that, and it was a wonderful salve for me, And I imagine Mary Tyler Moore, much more sophisticated a show, I think, but certainly was born of the Dick Van Dyke Show in a lot of ways too.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and watched a couple episodes of that as well because I watched a little bit more as a kid, just here and there on TV Land or whatever. But I mean, it's amazing that even the first episode of Dick Van Dyke, which don't be confused, if you watch it on Hulu, it's technically the second episode is the first episode. It's a mess. Yeah. But even going back to that episode, laughed out loud multiple times. The jokes held up a lot better than I thought for that show and for Mary Tyler Moore as well.
That's so cool. What a cool thing to do. All right, Christian, what is your parting gift?
I'll say for Disney Plus and WandaVision folks, they should go back because Dick Van Dyke worked on that's a direct inspiration. I mean, I think people watching go, oh, it's those old sitcoms, but how much it's those old sitcoms, and they actually tapped into that knowledge of folks who made them to make WandaVision as special as it is. And Mary Tyler Moore holds up. It is as intricate as any, maybe better than sitcoms today in so many ways. It's fantastic.
For sure.
My college roommate owned originally the VHS box set.
Oh, wow.
When it first came out, and then the DVD came out and the shelf got smaller, thankfully. My parting gift, I've mentioned them on the show a few times, but when we check in again, Jeff, for paid DLC, I want to talk more about them in this experience. But the full album, the Linda Lindas, their full album is out. It actually came out April 8th, and they are a punk rock band that you might have seen go viral with their song Sexist Racist Boy that kind of took off. They played at an LA library, and it went viral naturally in a way that music rarely does, it seems, these days. And after that, they were signed by Epitaph, and they released a full-length album. The oldest person in the band, she's 17, and the youngest person is 11, who is the drummer.
Oh, wow.
And it is 4 girls that just absolutely shred. Like, my daughters love them. And what I want to talk to you more about, Jeff, later is we happened to run into one of the members while we were just out and around running some errands. And it was such a cool experience. It's actually Bella, which is embarrassing. It was such a cool experience, though, and my girls were blown away. So, cool story, more to come. But listen to the album, the Linda Lindas. It's everywhere you want to listen to music, and it's fantastic.
And we always dive a little deeper into our parting gifts in the paid DLC show, which you can get as a patron. My parting gift, I think I mentioned it before, but I finally finished Severance, which is a Apple TV Plus series that was directed in large part by Ben Stiller, who has now become one of my favorite directors, shockingly, after Escape from Dannemora, which is amazing. And this Severance is extraordinary. I think, bear with me here, but I think it feels like a mashup between Lost and Westworld, but done better than either of those shows, I think.
Have you watched any, Ben?
I haven't. No, I mean, I canceled my Apple subscription after I finished Ted Lasso. I'm like, well, that's it. There's nothing else I'll ever need on Apple. And now I guess I'm going to have to jump back in. How self-contained is that first season? Is it going to tease me out for years and years of an Apple subscription here?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything about the ending, but it definitely is setting up for season 2, which I'm excited about because I loved season 1. But it is a very, very strong season 1, in my opinion. Christian, did you finish it?
I have not finished it, but it is visually stunning. I think it has confidence in its look that few shows have in terms of its aesthetic, its style. Listeners and folks in our Discord were trying to get me to watch it before I'd set aside the time to, and they're like, you love Control, you will love this show. Yeah. And it very much has that, the oldest house, kind of vibe to it, and it's phenomenal.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and the last episode, I think, is the best episode of the series. I think the first episode is also very, very good, but I love when a series ends on a high note, or ends the season on a high note, and this, I think, absolutely does. And man, it is knocked me for a wallop. It is really cool, sci-fi elements, really well explored, great acting. I mean, you said confident visually. I think it's confident on every level. Yes, Severance, highest possible recommendation.
Wow,
Ben, just subscribe, Ben. Subscribe and forget about it.
Yeah.
What are you even doing?
Okay, this seems like a really good idea. I'm on board.
All right, we got a listener-suggested parting gift. This was sent to us at dlcfeedback@gmail.com. This comes to us from Jordan Clark, who says, I was inspired by Jeff's recent comments on really enjoying YouTube channels that are about an individual's passion. Astro Backyard is one of my favorite channels. It's a channel all about astrophotography where Trevor will show his whole process for taking deep space photography of space objects such as galaxies and star clusters, all from his backyard. He talks through the whole process, and you can just really tell the passion he has for astrophotography. The photos he ends up with at the end always amaze me. I'd recommend it to anyone, whether they have an interest in the hobby themselves or not. Thanks. Always love the show, Jordan. That sounds rad. Rad. I have gotten so into that did I mention this already last week, Christian? That I've gotten so into that watch repair guy that somebody recommended. Yeah. There's this dude that repairs watches, and somebody, I forgive me for not remembering who it was, listeners, but one of you recommended this channel for watch repair, and I have watched so much of it. I find it so soothing. It's amazing. So now I'm gonna be into astrophotography too, because I'm gonna totally check this out from Jordan. Watching the guy repair the watches, the level of knowledge he has, and he's a complete amateur. He's not like a watch repairman by trade. He just loves it enough to have a YouTube channel about it. And he'll take apart a watch and just lay all the pieces out. And there's
Ooh,
like
that's good.
400 tiny pieces that make no sense to anyone. And he's got no manual. There's no diagram that he's going by. He just takes them all apart and then puts them all back together. It's like, how do you do that? It's amazing.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Anyway, if you'd like to have your parting gift on the show, send it to us. dlcfeedback@gmail.com is where you send them. That's going to do it for this episode of DLC. Thanks again to our musical contributors, Patrick L., Sean Madigan, and Zero Star. Our new theme song was created by White Cube, which is Jason Sherry and T. Ryan Arnold. Thanks to all of our patrons, but in particular, we need to thank our top tier Hype Train patrons. And I believe Christian is doing it this week. The shout outs, well, I'll just let him explain it.
My kids told me when I told them I was going to do this, they said, well, you're doing shout outs, Dad. You have to shout them. And I tried to convince them that that's not actually how it works. A shout out just means like giving props or whatever. But my kids are young and yeah. Okay, here we go.
Andy Joyce, Anthony Goulas, Dan Flanagan, Sassan, Adam Denby, Scooby Diesel, Jonathan Talbert, Chris Zacharias, Will with one L Harris, Jonathan Putney, Mark Gowland, Malcolm, King, Dan Palomino, Lloyd Nance, Ben, Kevin Brazel, Stu Goss, Jonathan Schlepfer, Albert Verhelden Dios, Spiceman, silence, Mike Lombardo, Michael Buck, Sledge, the Watashama, Henning, Peter Olberg, Jad, Christian Bravery, Octavian Radziu, Jason Novak, Kyle Starr, Riley Knox, Rob Rickman, Hank Patton, Cheesy Bob, Victor Venezuela, Matt Bradley, Jeff Lutzak, Mitchell Ness, Jimmy Radcliffe, Awesome U.S. Movies, The Switch Bit, Neil Shaw, Scott Hughes, Jenny, Nate, Zachary White, Yick, Soren Silk, Travis, Jackson, Michael Stadler, Nick Strauss-Klein, Josh Peak, P.S. Wheat, Taylor Wingert, Clifton Satterfield, Phil.
And also, thank you to my neighbors for putting up with me shouting. Thank you all so much. This show would not be possible without everybody's support. It means the world to us.
All right. If you survived that, we appreciate you. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Until then, think about what you put out into the world. Make it a better place.